In the early days of the web, the internet was quiet. Pages loaded slowly. Text sat still. Buttons didn't respond. Links took you somewhere else, but nothing happened while you were there. The web was a library, useful, global, and lifeless. If you wanted real interaction, you had to leave the browser. Most people accepted this limitation as permanent. Browsers were meant to display documents, not run programs. Interactivity was dangerous. Complexity would break the web. Speed mattered more than possibility. And then, almost by accident, everything changed. This is the story of how Brendan Eich and JavaScript challenged the assumption that the web had to be static, and how a language built in a rush became the nervous system of the modern digital world. Before JavaScript powered billions of devices, Brendan Eich was drawn to patterns, logic, and the elegance of ideas. He wasn't obsessed with flashy products or corporate ambition. He cared about how things fit together and whether they made sense. As a programmer, Eich loved expressive languages. He admired tools that let people think quickly, experiment freely, and adapt ideas without ceremony. He believed programming should feel alive, not rigid. That belief mattered more than he knew. When Eich joined Netscape, the company was fighting a war for the future of the internet. Browsers weren't just software, they were gateways. Whoever controlled them shaped how the web evolved. At the time, Netscape had a problem. Java, created by Sun Microsystems, was being positioned as the language of the web. It was powerful, structured, and serious. But it was also heavy, slow to learn, and intimidating for everyday developers. The web was growing too fast for that. Netscape wanted something different. A lightweight scripting language that could run inside the browser. Something approachable. Something that let designers, hobbyists, and newcomers make pages feel alive. They needed it quickly. Brendan Eich was given a nearly impossible task: design and implement a new programming language in about 10 days. 10 days. There was no time for perfection. No room for philosophical debates. The goal wasn't elegance, it was survival. Eich pulled ideas from everywhere. Functional concepts from Scheme. Familiar syntax from Java. Prototypes instead of rigid classes. Dynamic typing. Loose rules. Not because it was trendy, but because it worked fast. The result was JavaScript. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't consistent. It wasn't even named well. The name was chosen for marketing, not accuracy, tying it to Java despite being fundamentally different. From the start, people misunderstood it. Professional programmers dismissed it as a toy. A hacked-together scripting language for amateurs. Something you use to validate a form or animate a button, nothing more. Even Eich knew it was flawed. But JavaScript had one unstoppable advantage. It lived everywhere. If you opened a browser, JavaScript was already there. No installation, no permission, no gatekeepers. Anyone could write it. Anyone could run it. Anyone could experiment. That alone challenged a massive assumption of the time that serious programming required serious barriers. At first, JavaScript's role was small. It added interactivity. It made pages respond. It gave users feedback without reloading. But developers kept pushing it. They found clever workarounds, built libraries, shared hacks. The community grew not because the language was perfect, but because it was available. And availability changes behavior. Browsers competed. Each implemented JavaScript slightly differently. Chaos followed. Code that worked in one browser broke in another. Developers complained. The language's reputation suffered even more. Many believed JavaScript would fade away, replaced by something cleaner, more controlled, more professional. But JavaScript didn't disappear. It adapted. Standards emerged. Browsers aligned. Performance improved. Engines became faster. What was once mocked as slow and sloppy became shockingly powerful. Then came the moment that no one predicted. JavaScript left the browser. With the creation of environments like Node.js, JavaScript could now run on servers. The same language could power both the front end and the back end. The wall between browser and server cracked. This changed everything. Startups moved faster. Teams unified. Ideas traveled from concept to product without switching mental gears. JavaScript became the glue connecting the entire web stack. And Brendan Eich watched something strange unfold. A language he built under intense pressure, never meant to last decades, had become one of the most important tools on Earth. JavaScript powered social networks, online commerce, collaboration tools, entertainment platforms. It ran on phones, TVs, cars, and watches. It became the default language of interactivity, not because it was perfect, but because it was flexible. Eich often acknowledged JavaScript's mistakes openly. He didn't defend every design decision. He understood that speed forced compromises. But he also understood something deeper. You don't get to redesign the past. Instead of trying to erase JavaScript's flaws, the community learned to work with them. Frameworks emerged. Best practices evolved. The ecosystem matured. JavaScript didn't win by being the best language. It won by being the most present. And that presence reshaped the Internet's culture. The web became interactive, then dynamic, then application-driven. Pages turned into experiences. Browsers became platforms. Ideas that once required downloads or installations now lived behind a URL. The Internet stopped being something you read and became something you used. Through it all, Brendan Eich remained grounded. He didn't chase credit. He didn't pretend JavaScript was flawless. He emphasized the standards, collaboration, and evolution. He understood that once a language belongs to millions, control gives way to stewardship. JavaScript became a living thing. Looking back, the real innovation wasn't just technical. It was philosophical. JavaScript challenged the belief that power must be locked behind complexity, that tools must be intimidating to be respected, that only experts deserve access. It proved that a language designed for speed and accessibility, even with imperfections, could unlock creativity at a planetary scale. The web today is loud, alive, and endlessly interactive because someone was willing to ship something unfinished, because someone believed that enabling people mattered more than impressing critics, because someone understood that momentum can beat perfection. The story of Brendan Eich and JavaScript still matters today because the next wave of innovation won't come from flawless ideas built in isolation. It will come from tools that invite participation, from systems that grow with their users, from creators willing to move fast, accept flaws, and trust that improvement follows use. JavaScript reminds us that sometimes the most world-changing technologies aren't carefully polished masterpieces. They're sparks. And when those sparks land in the right place at the right time, they can set the entire world in motion.